You're listening to the Her Money, Her Business podcast. This podcast is for women starting or growing their own business and features episodes about money management, reducing financial stress, and how to grow a profitable business that's built to last. We want to see women in business thriving. So if you avoid discussing money, lack confidence managing money, or want to struggle less while making money, then you're in the right place. Let's make finance fun and money matter. I'm your host, Sonja Balzarolo, and this is the Her Money, Her Business podcast. Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of the Her Money, Her Business podcast. Today, I wanted to talk to you about updating your money habits. So we're getting closer to Christmas. We've got almost or just over when this podcast episode comes out 1 month to Christmas. And so at this time of year, a lot of us are wrapping up our businesses, getting ready to take a little break perhaps, and then come back into the new year. For lots of small businesses, it's also a time to reflect on this current year and then put some plans in place for next year. You'll see lots of people, coaches and things advertising, goal setting and new year planning, all these sorts of things happening. But what I wanted to talk about is money habits and reviewing your money habits. I think this is a good time of year to review your habits and see how they're working for you in your current business. So the first question I would ask you is, do you know what your money habits are? Is it something that you are reviewing reasonably regularly, or you've never even considered them or had a look at them? Whether they're business or personal money habits, and they can be interchangeable. You can have different habits for business and different habits for personal, or you might have similar habits in both. There's no right or wrong, no good or bad. Everyone's money habits are different. And obviously there's lots of things that go into how your money habits are created. But a lot of it also has to do with environment and your current business and where you're at in business, where you're at in your personal life and how that all gels together. So everyone's is obviously going to be different. But everyone's habits could certainly do with a review, whether that's regularly on a pattern that you look at them every 3 months or 6 months or every December or however that may happen, whatever works for you. But I really do think it's a good idea to review them. So why? Well, our money habits in particular, as well as any habit really, can get watered down. That's one reason, by your subconscious. So when you're on autopilot, and this happens in life in general, if you're on autopilot and autopilot takes over, then you're not really putting any thought into that habit. So you can miss out on the cues that your mind, I guess, is giving you that a habit might need to be updated or to rethink it. Habits can change from good to bad. Habits can change over time, and they certainly do based on what's happening in your life and in your business. And they can also become habits that no longer serve you. Habits also need to change as you change. So when your business is, let's say, growing, or you're in a growth phase, or even when you start and then in a year's time, the growth that you've had, you really need to upgrade your money habits along with what's happening with your business or your personal finances. And as they improve and increase, then so too should your habits to suit where you're at. So when did you last review your money habits, or have you reviewed them at all? So there's no right or wrong answer here, but it is, of course, important part of successful money management. You can start doing it at any time. So as I've said, it's a good time at this time of year to do that. So let's take a look. So I'm going to give you some questions in this podcast episode, or prompts if you like, that'll help you review or assess for the first time your current money habits. So take some time as I'm reading through these to work through them, if you want to work through them. So you could pause the podcast after I've read out each question and then write it down and either consider your answers as you do that or come back and do them later. But you definitely need to write them down. They'll also be in the show notes as well on the website at blossomingbusiness.com.au under the podcast episode for this episode, which is episode number 5. So the first question I'm going to pose to you is around your reactions to money. So what is the narrative to yourself or your self-talk when you're considering an expensive item that you want to purchase? What's that self-talk like? What sorts of things are you talking to yourself about when you're considering purchasing an expensive item? Number 2, question 2, is around your spending choices. So what is the item or the category of item that you spend the most amount of money on each week? So if you don't know what that is, you can either do the research and look through your bank account and recent purchase receipts and try and work out what that might be for the last week or so, or just write down what you think it likely is. Is it coffee? Is it takeaway food? Is it stationery? Whatever that thing is. And then the next thing I want you to do is consider what your reaction is once you figure out or once you decide what you think that item is. What's your reaction to that spending choice? So question number 3 is about your saving choices. So what item or category of item or even service that you purchase regularly do you think you're saving the most amount of money on? So example, are you always purchasing the no-name brand of a grocery item like toilet paper or baked beans or biscuits, let's say? Do you always get the cheapest petrol when you're filling up? So what item do you think you're saving the most money on? And then my question to you would be, do you need to save that money on this item or service now? Is it still important to you or as important as it was, let's say, 6 months ago based on where your revenue and your business and your personal and business finances are right now today? So question number 4 is around your rewarding choices. So what do you consider to be the most luxurious or expensive item that you've purchased for yourself in the last 6 months? And what is that? Write that down. Okay. And question number 5 is about your future choices or your future goals for your money. So what do you wish for that you currently don't have, and what are you doing to get it? So this one might need a little bit more thought, and you might have a little bit more detail in that one, particularly around what you're doing to get it, to get that item right now. So they're the 5 questions and the different categories or areas of money habits that I consider to be important to have a look at, which is your reactions to money, your spending and saving choices, your rewarding choices, and your future choices and goals. So what do we now do with this information? Consider these following things when you're reviewing your answers, and you might go back and have a look at these a few times. So the first one is, what do you notice about how you react to your money choices and decisions as you were answering those questions? What was your reaction? What were your feelings, emotions, reactions around those things you wrote down around the different money choices and decisions? Do you need to keep an eye on this and make some self-corrections to your self-talk habit, as an example, as it relates to money? That might be something that you've noticed. So the next one is, consider, are you happy with your spending and saving habits? Do you need to focus on either or both of those in the coming weeks and course correct anything that doesn't really feel aligned with how you want to be spending and saving money right now based on your current situation? So are you happy with your spending and your saving habits from what you've seen in this mini review that we did? Are you rewarding yourself or allowing yourself to spend money in alignment with your current income level and money goals? If you have money goals in place. If you don't, just consider your current income level. So are you now starting to have growth in your business and you're bringing in a reasonable income? And are you equally rewarding yourself or allowing yourself to spend money in alignment with that? Or are you still really scrimping and saving and, really not allowing yourself to feel that success and that movement and that growth forward in your income levels if that's where you're at? Or equally, are you doing the opposite? Are you rewarding yourself too much based on where your income levels are right now? And do you need to pull back slightly and just realign that and put some goals in place for how much you want to actually be spending on yourself? So there's 2 different ways to look at that. And the last question or thing to consider is, do your current money goals reflect what your future goals are? And are you actively working on achieving them and holding yourself accountable? So if you don't have any goals in place or money goals in place for the future, then that's definitely something you want to, at some point, have a look at. And I'm sure I'll do a future podcast around that. Goals, I believe, are very important to help you achieve things and hold yourself accountable. There's various levels to goals. Really important to have money goals for the future. So for an example, one of our family goals and my personal goal as well is to one day move to a farm and live on a few acres, not necessarily to farm it, but just to have that lifestyle. That's something that we're actively working towards. And so we do have goals in place that allow us to work towards that. And we're actively doing things to work towards that goal. So we're putting money away each week, obviously, and building up savings for that. But we're also doing things like we often discuss it. We're often talking about when we move to the farm, and I talk to my kids about it all the time. When we live on the farm, we would be doing this, or what type of animals would you like, or what things would we grow in the garden, those sorts of things. Really just it's an ongoing discussion and mindset movement towards that goal. And also just really realigning my business to allow me to expand my income levels to help us financially move towards that goal as well. So we're actively working on doing things to reflect our future goals and our future money goals. So a few years ago, I studied to be an accredited K's and Muse creativity coach. And so while I don't practice that type of coaching in my business anymore, I do take the fundamentals of K's and Muse and apply it every day with the work I do with clients, and also even in my own business. So how that applies to this and talking about changes and reviewing your money habits is that the principles of K's and Muse are really around making small steps that lead to big changes. So making changes that relate to money can bring up all sorts of blocks. It can create procrastination, perfectionist tendencies, fear avoidance, and obviously much more. So my advice to you today around looking at updating money habits from the review that we've just done is to take it slowly. Don't look at this list of things and go, right, I need to change this, and this, because chances are you're going to fall at the first hurdle. Consider the above. Just pick maybe one area or habit that stands out that you really want to spend some time focusing on, and just start with that. So, for example, it might be that you've identified that your self-talk needs some work out of the first question. So you might take some small steps and decide to take note, first of all, in, let's say, the first week, over the next week, of any self-talk that comes up when you go into a shop, when you're doing your shopping. Maybe even make a few notes or write a few things down as things come up for you, or things regularly come up for you. The next small step might be that in week 2, you start redirecting or reframing your thoughts anytime you notice negative self-talk, while you're out shopping, while you're doing things around money. The next step might be to start replacing any negative words or phrases with a chosen positive word or phrase that you've picked that's more positive to change things around. So the importance here is the small steps and the regular, consistent change that over time can help you make some changes to your money or any other habit for that matter. So that's really my advice today around updating your money habits. So step 1 is obviously to do a little mini review and see where you're at, and then make a small choice or a step that you can make out of one of those areas that really stands out for you, and just move forward and do something about that, and start to make some changes to put in place some successful money management tools. So that's it from me for today. I hope that's been of some help to you. Love you to leave me some comments or send me an email, sonja@blossomingbusiness.com.au. I'd love to hear from you. Let's make finance fun and money matter, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye for now. Inspired to take action? Head on over to our website, blossomingbusiness.com.au, for this episode's show notes and access to all of our resources. You've been listening to the Her Money, Her Business podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please head over to iTunes and leave us a review. I'm Sonja Balzarolo, and until next time, keep striving to make finance fun and money matter.